sport.
If you receive money, you have an incentive to receive that money based on RPI, because RPI rises just below 1 percentage point more quickly a year than CPI, because of ingredients in that inflation index and also the different ways that formulas and all sorts of other complicated math stuff, basically RPI rises more quickly. There was the Office for National Statistics has held a consultation because most economists think that RPI is outdated. CPI is the internationally agreed standard. It's what the EU uses, what countries around the world use, introduced into the UK in 1996. And the Office for National Statistics wanted to bring the RPI probably closer to the CPI. We thought they were going to say, yes, we should do that, but they haven't. The reason is because there are lots of things that use RPI to basically increase that every year. Things like private sector pensions are increased by RPI. The amount government pays for its debts. It would have been politically very difficult to change that formula. Reece Fallaize is a pension specialist at financial advice firm deVere Group. Reece, it was a surprise, wasn't it? I mean, there were many people saying this is good news for pensioners because pensions will keep rising at the slightly faster rate. Do you think it's good news?
Well, I think firstly, Dominic, I think it was a surprise. I think the majority of the industry were expecting to see a change in how RPI is being calculated. However, of course, whilst the headline is that RPI is not changing, we've got this new measure which is going to be introduced, which is RPI-J, which is going to bring in another, in addition to your 8 already inflation measures that you've said. In terms of pensions, actually, I think what we really need to look at is the timeline of what's been happening with inflation and RPI. And if we cast back to July 2010, which was when the government announced that it was going to change its statutory measure on pensions from RPI to CPI. Since then, many pension schemes, private pension schemes, have actually been switching their level of indexation, which is the increases members receive annually in their pensions, from RPI to CPI. We've had various court cases in this. We've had various protests from campaign groups, and the decision was upheld in March 2012.
So therefore, do you think, Reece, that this is perhaps a bad news for pensioners, because if RPI had come down a notch, and therefore companies would have had to pay out a little bit less every year out of their pensions than they would have to still now, perhaps they're going to go, well, we're just going to move it to the CPI measure, we're going to move it to the lower measure.
Yeah, I really do. I really think that's what's going to happen now with pension schemes. I think many schemes were holding out, along with pension actuaries, in the hope that RPI would be reduced to avoid any backlash from their pension members. But with more than 50% of the FTSE 100 pension schemes already switched from RPI to CPI, I really think that trend is going to continue and accelerate as a result of the announcement today.
Okay, Reece Fallaize from deVere, thank you very much. So it could mean, Peter, that we end up moving to a lower rate of inflation to increase our pensions every year by, so perhaps not such good news.
Thank you very much.